It's almost time to kick it up, up, up with Carnivale once again. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things that the park does is Grand Carnivale. So just a brief on it for those of you who've been living under a rock. Parade is the best part. It was Kings Island's first foray into a parade in a long time.
Yeah, Spectacle of Color Parade.
Spectacle of Color Parade, yeah. And so it had have different floats and stuff that represent the different countries. So here's an example right here. So if the floats were either made by Kern or 3DX, depending on whichever float you're looking at. But some of the coolest things ever. It's got one of the most catchy theme songs of all time, which I referenced in the bumper opener, and just really, really cool events. So parade, opening ceremony. There used to be a special show, but I guess that's not the case anymore. But they do have an opening ceremony that is kind of neat because they proceed in. All the different countries proceed in. And that used to be at about 5:30 every day, but now I think last year was at 6 or 6:30, and then the parade was a little bit earlier too.
Yeah, and the number of countries has kind of been pared down a little bit too over the years. And if you look at the website right now, it's not telling you exactly what countries are going to be represented this year. Where in other years the website would kind of call that out, give you an idea of the kind of food that you were going to be able to experience. But the parade, that's the star attraction of it. Always has been. It's can't miss. I mean, it's Disney Parks caliber with the parade.
Yeah. So here's the king and queen of Carnivale. If you're watching on YouTube, like you should be, but yeah. So they throw beads at the end. The kids love that, and then you see beads thrown in all the trees and stuff for the rest of the season, which is always kind of fun. But I love their use of streamers. They go all out with the streamers when it comes to Grand Carnivale, especially with the parade. So I really do enjoy that. But there's also several like food items and stuff. They have food from around the world with not on the dining plan, but you typically in the past have been able to get like a tasting card. And the tasting card gets you either 6 or 8 tastes, for a certain price out the door. I usually do that. I've done that in the past. So
yeah, that was a really good value, the tasting card. And it wasn't something that you had to use on the same visit either. If you've got, the maximum one, you could come back other days and use it. But I have not seen anything on the website or in the product offerings or anything that showed anything about a tasting card right now. But it is, like I said, different food. It's an opportunity to experience Kings Island, in a way that you typically don't during this event. The decor around International Street, very, very well done. So, definitely mark your calendar. It starts on July 20th. It'll run through August 4th. And again, that parade, can't miss.
Yeah. So now we'd be remiss. We'd be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about some of the changes that had happened with Grand Carnivale between its debut. When did it debut? Like 2018?
2019. And then 2020, because of COVID, it did not take place. 2021, it came back a little bit scaled down at that point. Did not do it in 2022 because of the 50th anniversary. And then came back again last year. And I did not see it last year. I had left the park on June 27th. So it started a couple weeks after I left. But from what I heard from a lot of guests was they felt that it had, really been scaled back from what it was when it debuted in 2019. They still thought it was good, but it wasn't as immersive as Detailed, with all the different activities and different shows and things, having the characters that are around, for the different countries in those areas of the park for guests to kind of mingle and interact with, get photos with. So that will be interesting to see what it is this year. Is it similar to last year, or is it back to the, what it was in 2019? We don't know. We'll find out here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So just to chart the progress for those who haven't been able to visit every year, the first year was just off the chains good. They had every country represented. So working just from memory here, obviously in front of the Fest House, they had Germany. Germany had like the brass band that plays the tubas and stuff. I'm sorry. I'm not versed in music. So they played German music. They had a maypole that they would dance around and stuff, which was really cool. And obviously, the Fest House was there, so that kind of speaks for itself. India was in the Tower Gardens, and they had a drumming show there. Spain was over by the Spain building on International Street, and I think they had like arts and crafts. I don't think they had anything particularly good. China was in front of the International Showplace Theater, and that's the one that drew the crowds. They had that stage show where they would
the acrobats in that
and do the barrels and all that stuff. So that was awesome. And then they had the characters like the guys in later Houston and so on, and so they would open it at 5:30 with the opening ceremony. Then they would do that. They'd open all the food booths and stuff around then. The parade was at like 7 or so, which eventually got pushed back later, and which was the right choice because the lights are incredible on those floats. But then they would have they would nix the normal bandstand show, and they'd have I could think they called it Hot Summer Nights, which isn't the first time that they've used that name for a show on the bandstand.
Right.
But they would do that. It was a high energy show. And then the last show, they would have all the performers come on stage and sing the Carnivale theme song, which, I mean, honestly, that would just give you chills just seeing that and stuff. Unfortunately, they took it away. So one of the coolest parts of Grand Carnival was just, it fell on the cutting room floor with the budget cuts. But nowadays, I think this past year, maybe the last time they did it before that, the show on the bandstand was just retrospect or whatever. They didn't do a special show for it. And they did do what they call the Kiss Goodnight, which is them singing the Carnival song. And they were doing fireworks with it. But this past year, it was just the band, the performers singing the song, kind of wishing it away. And then that was it. So it wasn't nearly as good. Now, granted, we didn't have a special fireworks show at the time. We didn't have lasers and drones and stuff like that. So they would do that. It would end, and then they would do the fireworks. And I think the drones did spell out Grand Carnival, if I remember correctly, which was really cool. But we still kind of lost that, which is kind of disappointing. Another change that there was, as I mentioned, all that entertainment that was in the different country venues, that was relegated to just the bandstand. And on the International Bandstand, they had probably the Lace Productions people that did the Cirque stuff doing kind of the clown act where they were sliding into each other and stuff like that. I don't remember what they did last year. I remember they had the King and Queen of Carnivale on the stage, but I think they're just piping through music or something. But yeah, so obviously the parade is the star of the show. That's the most important thing. That was still good. But a lot of the other stuff that was special, the budgetary thing that they did was they pushed the opening from 5 until 6:30, and basically they did the opening ceremony with everybody, and then immediately they ditched out and then got ready and did the parade. Then they sent them all home, so they only worked for 3 hours as opposed to 6. So it lost a lot of its luster last year. I got to say that it kind of hurt my heart to see that. But
like I said, you're not the only one. I've had a lot of people, tell me how disappointed they were in it last year outside of the parade. Yeah. It just wasn't that, immersive event. And it was really just name only, in terms of what it was from 2019 when it first debuted there. But it is, like I said, just for the parade, it's definitely worth checking out. I do think, the different foods, it's an opportunity to, try some different food than you would normally get, at Kings Island or pretty much anywhere, just because it's from these different countries, and that the culinary team did a great job with that. And that's just been every year, right? I mean, the food has been reported to be really good from 2019 when it was there in 2021 and 2023. And hopefully it is again this year.
Yeah, hopefully it is. We'll have to see. I mean, again, I didn't have the best experience of the food and wine thing for that kind of special event. So we'll have to see what happens with Grand Carnival. But with that being said, the food is on a bit of an upswing this year compared to last year. So, let's hold out hope.
One of the things too, I think people are going to notice is that the first year, it was a 3-week run. And now it's 2 weeks, which is, it's still a pretty good run for 2 weeks, I think, but it's not, that 3-week run that it was when it first debuted back in 2019.
Do you think that helps or hurts? And let me clarify my question. All right. because I feel like if it's 3 weeks, that gives you more of an opportunity to go. So, more people will go, obviously. Simple as that. If it's 2 weeks, my fear would be that the thought process behind the marketing and stuff, and we know it's 2 weeks for budgetary reasons, but or we can at least speculate that. But if it's 2 weeks, my fear would be, oh, we should go to that, and 2 weeks go by really fast, and you don't end up going. Like I feel like that might hurt going from 3 weeks to 2 weeks for that reason.
Well, I think the other piece of it, when it's 3 weeks, you're a little more weather protected because, say you hit where it's, 3 or 4 days of rain. And we've had that,
Yes.
midsummer, late July, early August. And, the parade gets washed out a couple of times. Well, there's not that opportunity really for a lot of those guests that came to the parade that have to miss the parade because of the weather to be able to come back and see it again. So from that standpoint, as a guest, I would love the 3-week run because it's, nothing's going to knock it out where I'm definitely going to be able to see it within that 3 weeks. And if I go early enough and I love it, I'll come back another time, 2 or 5, to experience it. So I think from that standpoint, it hurts that way when it's a shorter run because there's things that are going to be out of your control with the weather that can really derail the event.
So let me ask you, this is a this or that question. 3-week run of Grand Carnival, but it's like it was in 2023 with being very stripped down, or a 1-week run of Carnival, but it's like how it was in 2019. If you had to choose.
I would take the 1 week run of the 2019 version because that was just spectacular. I mean, just so well done, so much to see, so much to do. You had to come back, another time to be able to take it all in.
Yeah, the first year, I remember you making fun of me because you texted me like, did you go every day to Carnival? And I was like, no, I missed last Thursday. But I went almost every day. Like,
you did.
I was excited for it. And, I knew the parade would be good, just with the personalities that were involved. It was going to work out. But everything was so far above my expectations that it was just incredible. And, I think I bought 2 tasting cards because me and Aaron shared them. So we went through them really quickly because I think it was just 6 tastings at the time. But when in 2023, it was almost just like, oh, there's a parade today. And that was the only difference. Now there was decor and stuff like that, which was great. But you get blinded to that really quickly once you see it. It doesn't make things feel differently in the long term. So yeah. I wish we would see that either rejuvenated in some sort of ways, or I could even say retired, because I know that the parade stuff, I had heard this, but I didn't think it was true. But then I come to find out that it is, where the chassis for those floats are also used for like the Winterfest floats. So you can like take the pieces off and put other stuff on. So if they're going to start over with something different, I mean, they always start so strong. Look at Food and Wine with 3 different, forms of entertainment and stuff. Then they pare it down from that. It'd be kind of cool to start with something new that was like huge and spectacular. And then at least you get that for a year before it's pared down,
Yeah, it always seems like, it starts out really strong and then, things kind of get, cut as the years go by. And then by the time you get in your 3rd, 4th, 5th year, it's just the shadow of what it originally was. But the parade, let's talk about that for a minute, because the parade route, you've seen it enough times.
Yeah.
It starts back by, it comes out from, like under the racer area, the lift hill, goes down, Coney Mall toward, working its way up toward International Street, kind of circles around the fountain, and then it kind of ends where the French Corner is. We don't know if the parade route's going to be identical to what it had been in previous years, but that's pretty much, where it is. But you've seen the parade enough times. Do you have a favorite spot that you would recommend if a guest is seeing this parade for the first time, where they should watch it from?
I'm not falling for that again. I already got people beating me at Boo Blasters for revealing that secret, sitting in my seats, hidden on International Street. I'm not telling people where my favorite spot is. Okay. My favorite spot, honestly, there's 2 things. For one, if you want the full-fledged experience, it's crowded, but you pay the price for what you want. International Street, very, very cool. You have to see the parade route though, because you mentioned that it ends at French Corner. But remember, well, I guess you don't remember because you weren't there, but the Winterfest parade went the opposite route. So it went down the side on French Corner and then came up on the opposite side for Winterfest. So we don't know if that's going to be the case. You do not want to be on the side where the parade ends, because what they do is they come up all the way and they do the show stop and they do the dance scene and so on. And then everybody hops off and, the floats take off. So you only get to see part of the parade if you're in the last show stop. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, but it's the way that they've done it forever. And King's Dominion did it too, though, when I saw Grand Carnival there. But look at the parade route, see which side it's going down before it comes up, and it'll show you where it stops. Once it stops, like, the parade's over there. So let's say the parade goes down the side of French Corner, goes in front of the marquee sign in the front, the ID sign in the front, and then it comes up, and you're standing in front of like the end of the
Emporium.
The Emporium, yeah. So you're standing in front of the Emporium. So it comes up there, and then they do the show stop, they do the Carnival song, they dance and stuff, they do the stuff. That's it for you, because all the performers hop off. They have to go, for Winterfest particularly, they have to go to their shows. But for Grand Carnival, they just leave. They hop off the floats and walk away, and then after about 10 minutes, the floats just drive off. So if you want to see the parade, if you haven't seen it before, like, make sure that you have that in mind. But the guaranteed way to see it, the way that I really like it, is at Coney Mall, standing in front of the arcades. You can get some shade there while you're waiting, because it does have like an awning. We don't know what time the parade's going to be at this year. I think last year was at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. It was just after the opening ceremony. But it is kind of torturous some days to stand there in the sun and, wait for this parade to come by. But it originates from like the Area 72 section of the park. So you get to see it early on. And then the cool part is if you see it and you love it, you can always just kind of hightail it to International Street and watch it again.
Yeah, I will share where I liked watching it from, and that is by the racer entrance and exit, right where you see, they'll have it like marked where the parade route is on the ground, and right where it kind of like makes that turn to go up past the basketball game, and then making its way to International Street. I like watching it there because you see it, coming out from Area 72. It's, coming towards you. And then when it makes that turn, you get to see everything, from there. So that's my favorite spot to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. If they bring back the special shows and stuff like that, I can't stress enough to you to stay for that. If not, then, stick around and watch Retrospect, because that's also a really cool show. But yeah, like, I don't want my expression of disappointment that the it's been pared down over the past several years to mean that I don't want you to go. I'm very much looking forward to it. If they do the tasting card, I'm almost certainly going to buy one. We haven't seen
me too.
They're offering one, or if maybe we'll have to do some videos of us trying the stuff. We'll get some cards and we'll rank them or something like that. That'd be
fun.
But let us know in the comments. Are you excited for Grand Carnival? Let's do this. Let us know in the comments. Would you rather have a 3-week run of a pared down version of Grand Carnival like we had last year, or a 1-week run that had all the stuff I described from 2019? Let us know in the comments. But Don, one of the big attractions for Grand Carnival is the costumes. You can't wear a costume to Kings Island. It's a violation of the terms of service of your season pass. What would you recommend you wearing to the park?
Well, what I would recommend wearing is a Tower Topics t-shirt, which, fortunately for you, our listeners, is available to purchase for just $22. And that includes shipping, available whatever size you would need. And once you make your purchase, the shirts get shipped out within a matter of days. And, for us, it's a way to show your support for the show. But Ryan and I, we'd love seeing, people wearing them, at Kings Island. I've seen a couple, already out in public. I saw one recently at a Cincinnati Reds game, somebody wearing one. So it's a lot of fun for us just to see, people wearing these shirts. and it's a way for you to support the show. If you want one, just send us a direct message on our X, formerly known as Twitter. It's Tower_Topics, and then we'll send you the link to do the transaction via Venmo. And then within a matter of days, you'll be able to support one of these shirts, especially if you're there for Grand Carnival.
Yep, you can support one of these shirts while sporting the show, is what you're trying to say.
Supporting this. No, if you've got if for those that have the shirt, we've seen it. Several people have posted pictures of them wearing it at the park, and that tag us on X. Let us see you wearing them at the park. We love it.
Absolutely. All right, we'll be right back with the listener questions. Okay, first listener questions from Spencer J. from Batavia. Complete this sentence. Oh, this is fun. This is you talking. The best burger at Kings Island is at blank. Don, I know your answer, so just say it.
I'm going to say the pub burger at the Miami River Brew House. However, a close second is the double patty cheeseburger that is at Jukebox Diner. But for me, it's the pub burger. What about you, Ryan?
It's the pub burger, but more interestingly, have you tried the patty melt at Jukebox? I had that yesterday.
I have not.
So it's
just now. Let me add that to my list of things to do on my next visit. What do you call it? The patty melt?
The patty melt, yeah.
Okay.
So
noted.
So it's a patty. So it's your typical patty melt. It's two all beef patties. I don't want to say all beef because I'm not certain of that, but two hamburgers, rye bread. So the bun is bigger. It's much bigger. And then it's got like sauteed onions. Not a lot. I'm not a big onion guy, but it works on this. And then it's got cheese, but it's like almost like some sort of sauce. I'm not really sure. I would recommend it, but yes, that double stacked burger up there. I had to choose between the two of them. I ended up getting the patty melt, which was just fantastic. Have not tried the grilled chicken sandwich though at Jukebox yet. That was what we got in replacement of the double stacked chicken sandwich, from what I understand. But yeah, pub burger. It's on the dining plan. It's very simple: 2 beef patties, cheese, bun, tater tots.
Yeah. Now, if you follow me on X, you'll see that I've had the pub burger quite a few times this year. Love it.
I've had the pub burger.
You actually recommended that to me because, before I started, as a pass holder again this year, I didn't have the dining plan, so I was never in the brew house to, eat any of the meals there. So I appreciate you pushing that and suggesting I try it, and it's become, kind of my go-to thing when I go to the park.
You know what, Don? You don't need to thank me for that. The Kings Island Food Department should thank me for that promotion. I just sold them a pub burger. Okay, just kidding. All right, thanks for the question, Spencer. But next one, Angie M. from Dayton, Ohio. What do you think is the best show Kings Island has ever had? Gravity is number 1 on my list. Gravity was good. Don, you've seen a lot of the shows Kings Island had.
Well, before we get to my choices, I want to hear what you think, Ryan. Since you've been going to Kings Island, I think we're 1994, 95 is when you really.
92 was my first visit. I can't really say I was watching the shows in 92. I was really little, but okay. I've thought about this. My favorite show ever at Kings Island was probably Dead Awakening. That was a Halloween haunt show, not appropriate for children. It was just people all had to pick their jaws up off the ground after they saw that show because it was so edgy. Hot Blooded was up there too, because and the reason why I like these shows, and it's not just because like scantily clad women and stuff, although that's a plus. I love the whole jukebox musical thing that they do when they actually tell a story using the songs. See also Starlight Drive-In at Dollywood. What was that called? Is it called Star? Okay.
Yeah.
They tell a whole story using the song, and I think that's so cool to take you on that ride with them for that half hour. And then both of them had like just incredible like what endings. So I liked them. Let's do each venue. Let's do it that way. So probably Dead Awakening in that venue. For the Kings Island Theater, my personal favorite, probably Ed Alonzo. Freaking love that guy. It's kind of, it wasn't the best show. It was definitely not the most theatrical thing ever, but boy was he entertaining and funny and so on. The bandstand gets better every year. So just whatever year it is was better than the year before typically. And then Fest House, I'm not going to include Toy Factory because that would be a Kings Island Theater show because it should have always been in there. So let's take that out. Oh, the Toy Factory is my favorite Winterfest show, bar none. Fest House, let's go with the current one. I think I'm going to go that. No, Rock and Roll Never Forgets. That's my favorite. The one with all the dead rock stars. I wish they would bring that one back. So what about you, Don?
Well, I'll start by the best shows. What I think the best shows. There's two of them that are kind of like neck and neck with each other, but I'll give Gotta Dance.
Okay.
The Edge that was in the Kings Island Theater.
I thought you would bring that one up.
Fantastic show, tremendous talent in that show. Before that, there was a couple-year run. My first couple years as a pass holder, Celebration, which was celebrating Kings Island's 10th year anniversary. I love Celebration. Again, a lot of very talented people. Now, those two shows, very expensive to do, Broadway-style productions. Didn't take a back seat to any shows in the entire industry. So those would be my two favorites, which covers that venue. The show place, Deep in the Heart of Country, 1986. Love that show. No, I did, I really like Dead Awakening. Big fan of Hot Blooded, but Deep in the Heart of Country, a close second to Deep in the Heart of Country would be In Concert 84. On the bandstand, Summer Rhythms, 1990, the show that I absolutely loved. And in the Fest House, I will go with this year's country show. I think it's a terrific show and a must watch when I'm at Kings Island, and it's not off that day.
I want to point out that was my choice, but then I like the Rock and Roll Never Forgets thing. Dude, the music in there was just so good. But it's talent wise and stuff. The one that's in there now. And that one's like such a close second to Rock and Roll Never Forgets for me. I think talent-wise, the one that's in there now is better. That might be the best performers they've ever had on that stage. But yeah, I guess there's nothing really to add about that. But there have been a lot of really good shows, and some of it's a matter of taste. Like I acknowledge, like the Ed Alonso stuff is not the most artistically inclined. It's not the most dramatic. Hell, he's not that great of a magician, to be honest with you. But his show isn't about making these perfect illusions and stuff. I mean, he wants to do it right, and he is very, very good. But he's a comedian. The tricks are supposed to go wrong. So he was always funny, and every show is a little bit different for that. But with that being said, you chose Gravity. I think Gravity was better than Cirque Imagine, although Cirque Imagine was almost on the exact same shelf. Both of those are great. And then I take that back. I was thinking of Origins. Origins and Cirque Imagine are two, like, they were fantastic. I didn't like Gravity very much. I thought it was fun, but I also thought, and maybe it was the fact that Gravity debuted as the 5th year of a Cirque show, but I felt like it was kind of dry. I thought that Origins was clearly the budget was way higher because the set was so cool, and they had the sway pole and the music and all the stuff with the orbs and so on. That was awesome. And then Cirque Imagine, I remember the first time I saw them jump off the tramp wall. I didn't, they do it all the time now at Kings Island. They got the tramp wall with the trampoline below it. I didn't know it was a trampoline there. So when they jumped, I was like, oh my God, because I thought they were just going to hit the ground.
I liked Cirque Imagine, the best of those shows.
Mm-hmm.
All of them were, really good. The crowd, the guests, really enjoyed those shows. But outside of those 1980 shows, with Gotta Dance and Celebration, the next number 3 on my list for the Kings Island Theater would be Phantom Theater Encore. I thought that was a fantastic show, and because I, remembered the ride, rode it a lot, it was something that connected with me. But I thought that show was really well done, and was almost as close as you could get to going back to what they had in the 80s with the Broadway style shows in there.
What I liked about it as somebody that has written Phantom Theater, and I wrote it many times as a kid, is the depictions were just dead on. You know, how many times do you get a live action version of like a cartoon and it's just pathetic? Ask Disney, they know. But all the people that play this characters
Yeah.
were made up to look exactly like them. And you know, granted, like the personalities were kind of like not what I had expected, but I also like this was an animatronic that just moved its mouth, you know. So,
Yeah.
but that was a great show too. But it's very difficult to choose one favorite, and the reason why I chose that Alonzo is because it was dynamic, it was a little bit different every time, and so on. But yeah, I mean, Phantom Theater Encore was great. The ice skating shows, those were a lot of fun. Part of there is a bias to this answer though, because remember with the ice skating shows, when you guys got that, when it was like Endless Summer on Ice,
Yeah.
that was like the best thing ever. But then you had ice shows for like the next 300 years. So by the time there was the last one, like nobody wanted to see it, you know. If I recall, the park did announce the name of an ice show for the entertainment lineup, which I think you guys nixed, and it became at Alonzo. Do you remember that, or am I remembering?
I do remember that, and I remember ice shows in the Fest House.
Yes. Yes, I remember commercials with ice shows. A guy in a Star Trek uniform doing like a triple axle, something.
Well, think about how much things have changed over the years. You know, in the 1970s, and they had Dick Van Dyke kind of being their spokesperson for the commercials. They had 30-second commercials that were just dedicated 100%, nothing else, just about the live shows.
Yes.
You know, so that's how much things have changed, is that they knew that people were coming to the park to see these shows, that it wasn't just, you know, you had to have something for everyone, right? So for those that weren't, you know, fans of roller coasters at the time, or, you know, maybe that, you know, the grandparents, you know, what are they going to do all day there? You know, I remember those commercials, and, you know, my mom wanted to go see them. So I miss those days when entertainment was, you know, right up there with the rides and the attractions in terms of how it was viewed and what it meant for the guest.
Well, what I like about that is that I think you're entirely correct. I think that shows sold tickets at the time. They don't anymore. It's an added value thing. But what was smart about that from a marketing standpoint is grandma sees some show from Kings Island on a commercial, and then grandma, who does not, I mean, I can tell you, my mother does not want to ever go to Kings Island again. So if this was something like that she would be interested in, and she told the family like, oh, we haven't been there in a while, we should go, that's like really powerful right there. Not necessarily that she would want to go because, you know, I got to see the new country show or anything like that, but more along the lines of, that looks interesting, we haven't been there in a while, you know. But I feel like a lot of that's lost. I think that advertising is so incredibly expensive now that you can't take that risk anymore. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, was that the last listener question? Oh, it was. So Angie, thank you for the question. I'm not on board with you with Gravity being the number one show. I did like that show. I thought the sets were awesome for that. Oh, by the way, I feel like the bubble guy doing the lasers does it a million times better than the guy that did it in Gravity. He was cool, but the one that with the bubble guy, when he's grabbing the lasers and putting them above him, that's cool. That was spectacular. Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Perfect. All right. Hey, I'm Ryan Sir along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.